All right, Eric. The time is now. Welcome to the Fairview Social Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We are finally here. I've wanted to ask you to come on for a while, but I wanted to try to get my viewership up, but that hasn't worked. So here you are.
Well, I have a pretty good audience. I think they'll tune in.
So with the low viewership, we'll just roll with that and see how this goes.
It'll be all right.
So you were telling me a second ago. We'll just fucking get right to it because I want to hear this. I didn't realize it, but you were banned from Fairview then and now. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's been quite a few years. Like what? Maybe a year after they started it. I don't remember what year they started. Maybe a year or two. And it's back before Bert was an administrator on there.
Well, he's only been an administrator for a little while, so.
Well, it's kind of like the Wild West on there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she could handle it by herself. And so it was kind of anything goes. But except for if you cuss somebody, right?
Yeah.
And there was a guy on there whose opinion differed than everybody else on whatever thread this was. I don't remember what the conversation was.
Well, wait a minute. Do we know this person?
No.
Okay. I didn't know if it was my neighbor over here because he's apparently a troublemaker on there. Anyway.
And I didn't even agree with the guy's opinion, but I agreed that he had the right to have his opinion. But they were attacking him over his thoughts, and he just put his 2 cents in. And it wasn't even a polarizing subject. It was something stupid. And so I started defending this guy. Like, he has a right to his opinion. Like, I don't agree with him, but he has a right to his opinion. And then they started attacking me. So I called them all a bunch of motherfuckers, and I got booted. And I haven't been back since. So if I want to know anything that's going on in Fairview, I have to ask Roger to look up Fairview Then and Now, or to share my book stuff or whatever I'm doing. I say, can you share that on Fairview Then and Now?
That's funny. I guess I didn't realize. I guess I don't ever see you on there, but
Yeah.
I don't really pay too much attention to too many people. But now that I think about it, I have not seen you on there. So, yeah, I mean that would be a good place to talk about your book and all that. So that's a bummer that you're not able to do that.
All the other Fairview pages, but not Fairview Then and Now.
I didn't even know until a few weeks ago that there were other Fairview pages. Don Buffalini told me that there was a bunch of different ones.
Yeah, there's not as many people in the other ones. I think the biggest one maybe has 4,000 people or something like that.
Yeah.
And so.
All right, so you have a podcast called The Unseen Paranormal, which I've listened to that several times. I enjoy it. I'm actually, and we've talked about this before, I'm very much into paranormal things, more so aliens and all that kind of stuff. But I guess the last time I saw anything on the podcast was you did something earlier this year. Are you still doing it, or?
Yeah, it's kind of on hiatus right now because after 5 years and 170 episodes, I kind of needed a break. And then also I got busy with finishing the book, and then we bought the Night House up in Hopkinsville. And then I got hired to be the event coordinator for a huge paranormal expo in Hopkinsville in October. So that started last October.
Yeah.
And I got hired, so I'm getting paid to do that. So it's kind of like a part-time job with that. So with everything going on, I was kind of burnt out with the podcast. Because on top of, like we were talking a little bit before we started recording 2 or 3 episodes a week, or even just recording 1 episode a week, and then being a guest myself on other podcasts 2 or 3 times a week, it just was a lot of time.
So you were recording 2 or 3 a week?
Yeah.
How often were you releasing them?
Once every week, so every Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do 1 a week. I didn't know what the norm is on that. I mean, 1 a week seems fine. I mean, some of these famous people release them a lot, but
well, that's their primary job, though.
Yeah,
that's all they
I was
do,
gonna
so,
say I don't have time for all that shit.
Yeah. But they also hire editors and other people. All they do is record the shit, and then they pay somebody else to do all the pre-production, post-production. All that shit is done for them.
Yeah,
and so it's not, they don't get burnt out. I'm recording and then extensively editing audio, especially if I have a guest, because most of mine I did over the phone. And so some of the audio is horrible.
Yeah, tell me about that. We were talking a little bit a second ago. Like, there's a lot of people that do those kind of podcasts where they do it over the phone, but or like on Zoom or whatever these programs are that do it. But it always seems like it's like I'm worried what the other person would have to do it.
And that's the big thing that's why I'm using the Rodecaster. Like I was telling you, the mixing board that I use, I can Bluetooth my phone to it. And it's pretty good quality for the most part. Unless I talk to some of these older people in the field of the paranormal who aren't big on technology. I mean, I've talked to a few of them that are still using, a rotary phone. And you can tell the quality is horrible. or they have a cell phone and they don't have great service.
Yeah.
Or they're moving around the house and the signal goes in and out, or they're on speakers, using on speakerphone. They're pulling away like people doing here. They pulled away from the microphone. And so I have to go in there and edit that so that the quality remains the same.
Yeah.
Or there's 18 dogs and a bird barking and chirping in the background. So I'm taking out the noise of that. And so just because I've always been really anal about the quality.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm only doing audio. When you do audio and video, what I found out in the podcast world, your video can be complete trash. But as long as your audio is good, people still watch and listen.
Yeah.
So as soon as your audio shit, when you just do an audio podcast, they'll stop listening.
Yeah, that's kind of the stance that I took on it is, I've thought of many. Hayden, for example, wants to come on, and I was like, no, you can come on once you come into town. I'm not doing a phone thing because it's just, I go back and forth on it, and I finally just kind of landed on like, I know what I have here. And it's not the greatest stuff, but it's better than not knowing what someone else has. So for anybody listening, if you do come on the Fairview Social Podcast, you're going to come to Holliswood Studios. And
but Holliswood Studios is awesome. So.
It is awesome, but it's easy for you to say because you live 5 minutes down the road,
and we spend a lot of time here.
So. Yeah, so it's not too far of a drive for you to come over here. But as far as your podcast go, are you planning on getting back into it? I mean, I say this, but how many episodes you say you did?
170.
You've done 170 episodes. What the hell else is there to say?
Well, and that's part of it is like, who have I not talked to in the paranormal world?
Yeah.
The paranormal world's not that big. The TV shows and stuff make it sound like it's this huge community of people, and it's really not. I mean, I could have individual teams from Podunk, Kentucky, Podunk, Tennessee, but do they have anything different to say than the previous teams I've had on? Or, there's only so many paranormal authors out there writing books on new shit that they have something different to say than the 10 authors that I've interviewed about Bigfoot before.
Yeah.
What's new about it, So that's the hard thing that I've run into. And then also in the first of the year, it's very lean on books as far as the paranormal goes. Most of the paranormal books are out in September, October. So trying to find new authors or author that wrote a new book about something different, it's gotten more difficult. So I'll probably get back into it, but if I do, it'll be an episode every other week and just do 2 a month. Yeah,
that's probably good. But because even for this, like, you probably heard me say this in another episode, like the Fairview Social is, we can talk about the stuff around here, which we'll talk about because you've lived out here all your life, but it's like I don't want to really limit it to anything.
Right.
And so I don't know how you talk about like one subject and you're able to get that many episodes out of it and to continue doing it. I guess there's always stuff that comes up, but
yeah. Well, and also I never got into the weeds with it. I never got into the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory shit.
Yeah.
Because I wanted well-educated, well-researched people talking about the subjects we're talking about. So at least if you don't believe in Bigfoot or aliens, at least the people I had on make a good case for it. Or demons. I've only had one guy on talk about demons because you get a lot of crazy religious bullshit thrown in there.
Yeah.
And I had one guy who is a demonologist for the Catholic Church, but he's also a paranormal investigator. So he looks at it through the religious lens, but also through a normal, investigative lens. So looking for people, finding quality people like that, especially with UFOs, because there's so many conspiracy theory, crazy fucking people out there with, reptile people and all this other shit.
Yeah, I was going to...
that's just way too far out there.
I was going to talk to you about that because I've listened to... You've had a couple people on there talking about UFOs and all that. I mean... this was supposed to be like the year of disclosure,
right?
Where all the stuff is supposed to come out and there's not shit out about it.
Yeah.
And what irritates me about all of this is, I used to have this firm belief that there is something and there is some kind of non-human intelligence and all that. And I guess I still do believe that, but I just get so sick of the shit of like everybody pulling you in a different direction.
Yeah.
It's just trying to... It's like the government saying they're going to release these files and all this other kind of stuff, but nothing ever happens. It's always like, and on the fucking phones, you can't see anything. It's like, or like the pictures, the best pictures we have are from, 50 years ago of this. Do you think that like the phones now have like this digital thing in them to where it, it doesn't allow you to capture that kind of stuff? I mean, I just feel like, I don't know where we're at with all of it, but I want somebody to give some solid answers, some solid evidence. You don't ever see anything. It's just little blips of something that might be.
Well, I think a couple of years ago, our government figured out, well, shit, there's other governments around the world like Brazil in China that are actually putting out real videos of UAPs, UFOs that they say, we can't explain what this is. We don't know.
Yeah.
And the government being honest about it. So the U.S. said, well, people are starting to figure this shit out, so we need to do something. But in U.S. government fashion, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. We're going to put out a little bit here to distract you.
Yeah.
But we have so much more that we're never going to show you.
Well, it's like the
is a part of it. I mean, that's my opinion with talking to people and doing research. And
when you look at like Bob Lazar's story, you know, he's talking about how he only had this particular piece that he was allowed to do. So the fucking government always gives you pieces.
Yeah.
Or like these people each have a piece of it, and nobody ever works together with anything. So there's never any kind of solid anything.
Yeah, it's all compartmentalized. And there was a guy who came out from the Roswell incident, and he was an agent for the CIA, and he ended up, when he retired, doing some interviews saying how they hired him just to be a disinformation agent.
Yeah.
Oh, so he would actually put newspaper articles out there that said there's a flying saucer. People saw a flying saucer.
Yeah.
And then he would put out these newspaper articles also as part of the government statement. So he was muddying the water. So why wouldn't they be doing that today if they're doing it back in the 40s and 50s?
Yeah,
some of those big incidents.
It just seems like now there's so much technology and all the things. It's like, how do you hide all of this stuff? How do we not get a firm answer other than, you know, people having the experience if they've been abducted or whatever's happened, or they've seen something flying around out here in the field or whatever the case may be. It's like, that's the only, you just have to trust the people that are seeing it, you know?
Right. Well, and a lot of the people that have witnessed it is our military.
Oh, yeah.
And you have some of that filtering out, but those people are getting, their families are getting threatened, their lives are getting threatened, and that's why they're coming to the media. So if anything happens to them, people are like, well, the government killed them because they came out talking about what they saw. But there are plenty more who've seen crazy shit on some of the ships in the Navy and things like that, and radar techs and people like that have seen it.
You'll never hear from any of them.
Yeah, because they're not willing to risk their lives or their families' lives to come out and talk about what the government said, you know, is classified or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think that all that stuff is like, I don't know how much I believe that like this is like aliens from outer space. I feel like they're more interdimensional, like hopping through different dimensions as opposed to, you know, it's just way out there in the universe somewhere. They're coming here. Yeah,
and that's kind of my sense too. And is that, and a lot of the level-headed UFO people, UAP people they're that mindset now. Is that it's more interdimensional stuff, and even looking at like Bigfoot and Dogman and things like that, they think that comes along with aliens. So in areas where you have high concentration of Bigfoot sightings, Dogman sightings, things like that, you have a high concentration of UFO sightings as well.
Yeah,
and so they think it's because it's interdimensional stuff with the creatures on the ground and the aerial stuff.
I just think that it's like, what did I hear the other day? It's like when we find these ships or whatever we've found or not found, you know, because we don't know, because the government hides it all from us. It's like people call it like a donation. Yeah. You know, like the aliens or whatever life form is like leaving it there so we can strip the technology or figure it out. It's almost like these non-human things are like, come on, guys, get your shit together. It's like, here, do we have to just do it for you? It's almost what it seems like.
The interesting thing with some of the UAP videos is that our government's come out and said, well, we know it's not Russia or China, but they never said it's not us.
Yeah.
So, you know, and maybe that's them kind of poking the bear of Russia and China saying, we know you don't have this technology, but we do. Yeah. Let's show you what it is. You know, there could be some of that too with some of this crazy, especially the smaller UAPs that like a person couldn't fit in. They're more like drones.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people think that the shit with CERN and doing the Hadron Collider and all that they've actually discovered a whole different side of physics.
Yeah, I think that that, and on top of that, like all this quantum computing and all the kind of stuff that they're doing, I just think that we are at that's the other thing I was going to talk to you about, just like where we are with AI. All this is all connected. Yeah. Every bit of it's connected with the technology advances that we have. I mean, just think about it, like AI, the way that we know AI now just came out like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just like no one really, even now, people really don't understand what AI is. But the amount of computing power and stuff that it takes and all these new quantum chips that they're doing is able to, do these equations and do all this stuff, and it's kind of showing us that we are in like a kind of a matrix here. We're in almost a simulation. I don't like talking like that because it makes you sound like tinfoil hat kind of stuff. But like, I mean, it's no different than us playing on a fucking video game.
Right. And what was that movie with Ryan Reynolds, where he was the video game character and he was sentient?
Ready Player One or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that, and it's just like an endless loop of you want to know, but you can't get the answers.
And then once you think you figured something out in the paranormal world, there's 1,000 more questions that come along with it.
Yeah, well, I guess it kind of, same as like what happens when you die. It's like nobody really exactly knows what happens when you die because none of us have really experienced that. Yeah, and so I guess that's where it comes into like your paranormal stuff with people seeing like ghosts or whatever the things are. Like, is it like the things that you talk about? Are they like there's a guy in a Civil War outfit that we saw over here? Do we not see like some dude that died a few years ago or something hanging out?
Well, there are those stories. You just don't hear as much about those for whatever reason. There are quite a few of those stories. And it seems to center around, take the Nye house we own, that's 210 years old. It seems to be places like that where you have the older hauntings and you have the more recent people who have died there.
Yeah.
Like a house like mine or yours don't get haunted for some reason. You know what I'm saying? Like on a regular basis, they do, but the likelihood is less than some old house that already has a haunting. And I don't know why. That's just an observation that I've made doing the paranormal. But there are places that have had horrific things happen, that there are modern day ghosts.
Well, it's just crazy to think that, like, if I died tomorrow or something, and it's like, would I not be trying to haunt the house? I mean, would people not? Oh, I think I felt Tim's presence, or I mean, is that not a thing?
Well, probably 80 to 90% of hauntings are what we think are just a recording on the environment. So it's not something that's intelligent or anything. It's just something that's going to play in the atmosphere over and over when the conditions are right, whether you're there or not. It's like any place, like these old castles where they see the same white lady on the stairs all the time.
Yeah,
it's going to walk right by you and not pay you any mind. And then you got about 10% or so that are intelligent, what we think are intelligent hauntings, because we can interact with them, get them to answer questions. We get EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon recorders. When we ask a question, we get a direct answer that is an intelligent answer that is answering what we ask. It's not just a voice saying something random. And so it's all theory, like you said, because we can't prove any of it. But it seems like the majority of hauntings are residual things like that. And the old theory, and I don't know what they think the new theory is, but this theory always made sense to me. It's called the stone tape theory. And the same way that we used to record onto VHS cassette tapes magnetically, believe that it records on the environment, especially places that have running water and quartz. Because, I mean, they use quartz movements and things in watches to power watches and hold. Even the quantum computers use quartz crystals to hold information because they can hold on to energy for a long, long time. And quartz is one of the only materials that you can hit with a hammer and it will cause an electric spark.
Yeah.
And it's called a piezoelectric effect. But because it's the way it causes the crystal structure to vibrate or whatever. So where there's running water, also you get a change in the positive and negative charges. You say near the beer bench. You're just sitting over there.
I was trying to do it smooth, but it didn't.
But it's just a recording on the environment, which to me makes sense because we're full of electromagnetic energy. I mean, that's what makes our muscles work, our brain work, everything. And then also the Earth, we're surrounded by electromagnetic fields all the time. So why couldn't we, if say you come home, walk in the front door, and do the same routine every day for 50 years, you're imprinting that energy in that same space the entire time. And so why couldn't that record onto the environment over the years of the little pieces of energy that you put into that same motion to where when there's a thunderstorm or whatever conditions are right, the atmosphere is right, the magnetic field's right, that it couldn't replay like a movie.
Yeah.
And some people may hear it, some people may see it, you as an apparition, or a mist or something. But if you think about it, it makes sense. Like you can take and record onto a magnetic tape and play it as a movie with sound and pictures and things. So
the reality is all of this stuff, all of the scientific things that we found out about all this. I mean, I believe it all, but it just makes me mad because all of it, from aliens to the paranormal to all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
UAPs, quantum physics, quantum jumping. I'm starting to really believe that everything is happening all at once. There is no past. There is no future. Everything is just like happening all right now. But it's like we won't know. We don't know. We don't know. And so it's a source of aggravation. I'm sure not just to me, but especially the people that study it often. And, I just like to think about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, all of it's given you almost 200 episodes of things to talk about and a book and a house.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the book here. So this is Small Town Haunts and Legends of Tennessee. I remember you'd started writing it a long time ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. It took me a couple of years to write.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, and I think that you were just kind of working on it a little bit here and there.
Yeah, and then I've never written a book before. I'm not really a writer. And so I got frustrated with it.
Well, you're not really a podcaster until you start podcasting.
Right. So I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know formatting, all that stuff of what I should do. And so I got frustrated with it, and I set it down for about 8 months and didn't touch it.
Yeah.
And I had all the research done. I was working on writing the book. And so then I came back to it last year and pushed really hard the last 6 months of last year to get it done because I wanted it done and out to my editor by Christmas. And so I got it done and out to her, and then I published it in February. But I'm a really creative person. I mean, if you look at my Facebook page, all the videos and voiceovers, I do all of that stuff, video editing and graphics and all that stuff. So,
what I like about this book is that it's a pretty easy read. I like how it's just a few pages of each little story of it, and so that's good because you can get in the weeds with books that are like hardcore scientific into it. I just like this because it's you can pick it up and read a story or two.
Yeah, and put it back down. And I kind of went back to when we were kids growing up. We had the bathroom books and the coffee table books, like the Reader's Digest short stories, and the bathroom books where you'd have the joke books, or you'd have the little short stories. And so I kind of wanted to do that to where somebody could sit down and just jump around the book. You don't have to go in a particular order.
Sit down and take a dump.
I'll take a dump and read my book, But whether you have 5 minutes or 30 minutes that you want to read, you can read it and jump around to different stories. Some are longer, some are shorter. But it's probably 80% history. But it's the most difficult creative thing I've ever done. And I'm fixing to do it again with the Kentucky book. So.
Oh, really? Oh, with the Night House.
Well, I'm just going to do Kentucky. Small Town Haunts and Legends in Kentucky.
Oh, okay. Actually, that's a really good idea. I mean, you do it in
all the different states.
50 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah. So how's it been received?
Good.
It looks like you've got some good reviews on it, and I've seen that you've done some other podcasts where you've been promoting it, so it looks good. But yeah, and I have a signed copy of it.
Yeah, you do.
You did. It wasn't even personalized for me
because I wasn't told to personalize it for you, sir.
I got it from Roger. He brought some in.
He said just sign a bunch of these generically, so that's what I did. And he said you bought one. I was like, well, I would have personalized it for 10. We've only known each other our entire lives. And
I know. I was like, well, all right, well, fuck. I guess I'm just not in that group. So no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's cool. And have you started the Kentucky one yet?
I've started on the research for it. But now that I have the formatting down and kind of have an idea of what I'm doing, it's going to go a lot smoother. So hopefully I'm going to push to try to have it out before Goblin Con with the big expo in October.
So that's this October?
Yeah, October 17th, 18th.
That's the thing that you're working on for Kentucky?
Yeah, I'm the event coordinator. And it's celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Hopkinsville Goblin incident where the goblins landed on the Sutton family farm and attacked the family.
I didn't know.
These little 3-foot-tall creatures.
Do they do this every year, or is this just like a one-time thing?
So the little town of Kelly is about 5 minutes outside of Hopkinsville. And just a little bitty, you blink and you'll miss it, town. And they were doing it up until COVID in 2020. And I think they ended up canceling in 2021 because of COVID. But then they never started it back. So Visit Hopkinsville, the tourist bureau for Hopkinsville, decided that they wanted to pick it back up for the 70th anniversary and worked with Geraldine Sutton Stith, who is the daughter of it was her grandmother's farm and it was her dad She wasn't born then because it was 1955, but pick it up for the 70th anniversary and do this big 2-day expo in Hopkinsville. So
did you get connected with that because of the house and all that?
Yeah, we met Amy, the director of Visit Hopkinsville, through the Night House because we have a display in Visit Hopkinsville's location and stuff, and do a lot of things with them. And she was taking bids, and I put my bid in from doing all the events I've done over the years, and I got the bid. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So about the house, I wanted to talk to you about that because I haven't really talked to you much since you got it, but I've been following it online. You're going to kill Roger with this thing. He's always over there building something. But
shit, Roger, me, I'm the one that stays up there all the time. I fucking live there half the time.
Yeah. So how did this come about? Were you planning on? Were you actively looking to buy a house, or did you just find it and decide to, hey, I'm going to buy this house?
So it actually happened pretty quickly last year, kind of around the end of January, 1st of February of 2024. I was talking to my buddy Austin on the phone, and he's one of my investigative partners. I've done some documentary stuff with him, and we were doing some YouTube documentary stuff, and we had one of the videos take off, and it has tens of thousands of views on YouTube. And we were talking about if we made money off YouTube by doing some of these paranormal documentaries, that it would be cool to go in together and buy a old historic haunted location and have your own location, because then you can investigate whatever you want. You can do long-term experiments and things like that, and try to do it scientifically where you're trying to replicate experiments.
Yeah.
And we were just talking on the phone, and the way that Facebook does, it listens to you.
Yeah, it does.
It popped up these groups, two different groups, and it's the same people that own them, but it's old houses, $50,000 and beyond, and old houses, $100,000 beyond, and then they have a website that's connected. And their whole point is to save these old houses from being torn down. They have nothing to do with the paranormal. It's just strictly history. And they do houses up until the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah.
And so me and Austin, I'm on the phone. He lives in Ohio, so he's on the computer. I'm on the computer, and we're just chatting on the phone. And he goes and starts looking. I'm looking like, how are these so cheap? Excuse me, beer. He's like, how are these houses so cheap? And we're just looking, I'm like, man. And a lot of these old houses, even these big mansions, people don't want them. The younger generation don't want to deal with them to fix them up and things like that. And people just don't want to deal with the renovation and the headache of it. And because our house is on the National Registry of Historic Places, so that scares a lot of people off. But for us, it doesn't mean anything because there's never been any government money taken toward the house from the federal government. So
why does it scare people off?
Because if somebody's taking government grants to work on the house from the because of the National Registry of Historic Places, then they're beholden to the rules of the National Registry.
Yeah.
And for us, it's just the front porch, which we don't plan on changing anyway. That was what they focused on in 1978 when it was put on the National Registry. And because you can go look up that paperwork and see what they say about the architecture that you have to keep. And so it was the front porch, but we're not changing that. We've rehabbed it, and we're continuing to rehab it. But so I got this crazy idea in my head because I saw these houses that were close to us. Of course, nothing in Middle Tennessee because everything's like $8 million. So we had to go outside of Middle Tennessee. But I had a criteria, and I went and talked to Roger because he's the money man. I spend way too much money. And
I'm sure he'd disagree with that.
I said, look at how cheap these houses are. Well, he's big into history too. He don't care about the paranormal, but he's big into history. And I said, what about owning like a historical place like this if we got it at the right price and open it up for history tours and doing weddings and just doing a whole business model of photographers come in and they pay you to take photographs there and things like that. On top of doing the paranormal. Renting it out for paranormal, which is a huge tourist industry. It's like billions and billions, like $3 billion tourist industry a year. But for teams to rent the house and then come in and investigate. And so he got on board, which blew my mind because I didn't think he'd ever fucking go for it. Yeah. So we started looking around.
Apparently he doesn't have enough to do.
Yeah, right.
He needed a project.
Yeah, there's plenty to do at our own house. We still haven't gotten done. But we started looking at houses and getting excited about them, and we saw this one in Hopkinsville, and it kind of fit the criteria. The criteria had to be within 2 hours of our own house, so it's easy to drive there and drive home.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, one of the things, if the house already has a name, there's a history. So if people have lived there have named it, or the town has named it the so-and-so house, there's a history there. There's a reason it has a name. So we found this house, And we went and looked at it, and it was called the Knight Rogers House. And there's the two dominant families that live there in the 210-year history. And so we ended up going and looking at it. They wanted way more than we wanted to pay for it. And so we sent them an offer. They declined it. So, okay. So we go look at other houses. And they come back and say, well, if you go a little lower, maybe we'll take it. So we give them another offer. They declined it. So we go look at other houses. And then they came back and countered their own offer, their own price, for a way lower price. And we said, if you come down $5,000, we'll do it. So they did.
Are they just trying to get rid of it?
Yeah. For one, it did not have a kitchen, and it couldn't be insured at the time that we bought it.
I mean, didn't you say this thing has like 6 or 7 floors to it, and there's no fucking kitchen on it?
Yeah.
It's not a fucking kitchen at all.
So, well, he was building a kitchen.
Oh.
But the owner we bought it from, they'd owned it since 2014, and he got a job at Disney in Anaheim, California as an engineer.
Yeah.
So they were moving out there. So he didn't finish the kitchen. Well, if you don't have a kitchen and it can't be insured, you can't get a mortgage on it. Mm. So nobody could come in. It's not like a family could come in and buy it because it had to be cash purchase. And so luckily we're in the position that we could buy it for cash. And it's on 3 acres. It's 5,600 square feet, and it's 6 levels. And it's a mansion. It's a 1815 mansion.
Yeah.
And so we got it. But we had to do a lot of things. That's why we disappeared last year for a year, and nobody saw us.
Yeah, I mean,
every weekend.
Yeah, but you guys have been posting it, so obviously you've been you've been busy trying to bring that thing to life.
But I had a 4-foot deep trench around the whole foundation, so that's part of the reason it could be insured, because liability. Because he put a waterproofing membrane on the basement, because the basement is half above ground and half below ground in stacked stone. So anyway, we had to fill that in. We had to put a handrail on the front. We had to do all shit to get it insured. Now it has a full kitchen. We finished the kitchen and all this other shit. So now if we wanted to sell it, then somebody could get a mortgage and buy it from us because it's insurable and it's a fully functional house.
So have you guys ever thought about moving out there?
No.
Why not?
It's a business.
You think you wouldn't?
I love the house, don't get me wrong. And I love Hopkinsville. Hopkinsville's a cool town. Laid back, nice people. No problem with Hopkinsville. And we've learned it really quickly. And we know how to get around Hopkinsville and everything's at. And it's a great town to live there part-time. But this is home. Yeah. And, yeah.
You're trapped into Fairview.
So are you.
I know. No, it's cool. I know that I don't hear from you guys too much here lately, but I do follow it, and I've been watching what's going on. Joseph actually, I guess he went up there when you guys had an event. He said that the place it really is awesome.
Yeah.
So, so what all have you done to it? I know that you put some rails on the porch. You said you did build the kitchen in it.
Yeah. The kitchen's fully functional now. We put floor and ceiling in. The only thing left in the kitchen is trim and wallpaper.
Yeah. Well, you posted that you did some wallpaper somewhere in the house.
Yeah. Last weekend we did. We had bought this wallpaper mural to go in the dining room.
Yeah.
Because back in the 1800s, they would have hand painted murals in the dining room, in the parlor, and things. So we're trying to, even though we don't know what was in this house per se, because it's been a residence for 200 years.
Yeah, but you get to imagine it.
And put our own touch on it. So
it looked really cool. Whatever that.
Yeah.
So what is that? What is that called?
It's just a wallpaper mural. They call it a fresco.
So you just put it. So it's. I mean, how the hell hard is it to do it on there? Is it in sections or something?
Yeah, it just comes in one big roll, and you cut the panels. The panels were what, 9 foot tall, 10 foot tall, and it comes 4 panels to a roll. And then it's just a repeating painting, basically.
Yeah.
So we had to buy 2 rolls to do that wall. But the crazy thing is, it's really expensive wallpaper. But the reason it is because it's more like fabric than wallpaper. Mm-hmm. And it's the kind that you still have to paste the back of it and book it and let it sit 5 minutes before you can put it up. And instead of just the shit now that you just slap the glue on the wall and slap it up or the peel and stick. But the seams disappear.
Yeah.
On this. So it looks like a painting on the wall.
Yeah, it does. And when I was looking at the pictures, I was like, I don't know, either whoever put it up was really good or just
well, it was a learning experience for sure.
Yeah.
To get the seams just right so they disappeared.
Yeah.
But it's crazy once you did, because even up close, you had to kind of press them together with your fingers and get it just right and just lined up just right. And once you did, like even up close, they kind of disappear.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really cool out there. Do you ever stay overnight or anything, or stay for a few days?
I stay there all the time because anytime we have a paranormal team in the house, even part of the night, I stay the rest of the night. So So the previous owner built a wing onto the house. Back in the 1800s, they had summer kitchens, what they call a summer kitchen. It'd be like a building we're in now, separate from the house. And they would cook in that kitchen. That's all it was for, was a kitchen with a hearth. So they didn't heat the house up in the summer because they didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
And so they would cook out there in the summertime. The servants and slave people would. And then in the wintertime, they cooked in the basement, which has a huge giant hearth. They built a giant fire, which helped heat the house. Also, in the summer, you tend to have drought and you have fires and things more often than you do in the winter. So if the summer kitchen burned down, didn't burn the house down, didn't kill anybody because nobody stayed in there or anything like that.
Yeah, that's probably pretty smart.
Yeah. So what this guy did, what the previous owner from us did, was he built a wing from the dining room connecting the summer kitchen. So the wing is the modern kitchen, a laundry room, and then what used to be the summer kitchen is my office bedroom, and it has a bathroom already attached onto it. Excuse me. So I stay out there whenever the teams are in the house because there's nothing paranormal goes on out there. It's all newer. And the summer kitchen had burned down, so he rebuilt it. But when we got the house, there was no drywall, no insulation in the kitchen. We had to pretty much do that entire addition, including the summer kitchen. We just now got the bathroom. The toilet's fully functional. We're still working on that bathroom in the summer kitchen. We're still working on getting the shower going, but we had to replace drywall on the ceiling and all kinds of shit.
Yeah. So when the teams come out there, what does that look like? Do they just stay up all night and like do with their equipment and everything?
Yeah. So the first hour they come in, I give them a history tour. Well, it depends on if they're coming, because we have 3 different times. There's 7 to midnight, there's 7 to 3, and then there's 7 till 9 a.m. And so the 7 to 9 a.m. they can sleep in the beds and things like that, and we provide all the linens, clean linens, everything. But I try to do a brief history tour and show them around the house because it's 6 different levels, like I said, but they're all half levels except for the ground level. So on this side you have the cellar. Big ass cellar, and you come upstairs and you have the basement, which is half, and then you come up to the ground floor, which have the foyer and 2 bedrooms, and then the addition, the dining room addition. Then you go up and have the parlor, and the parlor runs the whole width of the house, whole length of the house, but not the width. It's only half the house. And then you go up to a guest suite, and then up to the full attic, which runs the whole length of the house, but only half the width.
How does the teams that have come out there, how have they been doing with it? Do they like it? They say, hey, this is a really cool place to do this?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that they go to other places.
Yeah, most of them do. We haven't really had any thrill seekers. Most of it's been teams. And we have fun with it. It's not boring or anything. We have a good time. But they've gotten lots of different evidence and things and had a blast. But also what I always tell people, probably 80% of what we do is history.
Yeah.
And so we're all history buffs in some way, shape, or form. And then the rest of it's paranormal because you have to know your history to know why somewhere's haunted. And also to ask the proper questions. If you're trying to connect with these people, you need to know who the hell you're talking to. You know, you're just going to go in and say, is Joanne here? Well, there's no Joanne ever lived there, so you need to know your history.
Like some Joanne, some paranormal ghost Joanne fucking rolls up in there. She's like, did you call me? I'm the neighbor down the road.
Right.
The ghost neighbor down the road.
But yeah, and that's like my book is probably 70% history with the ghost stories thrown in.
Yeah, that's a good point that like a lot of 90% of it is history.
Yeah.
And so all that stuff is fun. So it's not just, people, I think that when we use the word paranormal, it's kind of attached to like the stigma of just like, I don't know, just
crazy, weird people, witchcraft,
or ghost. Even the word ghost is
the paranormal. The word paranormal has been attached to ghosts, and it's not just ghosts. It's anything outside the norm.
Yeah,
that we can't explain. And that encompasses UFOs and Bigfoot.
Well, I was going to say, like, you're saying fucking UFO now. It's like you guys say UAP. Because UFO has gotten, people think of, like, the disc flying around. So we call it UAP because, I mean, the reality is a UFO. It's like you don't know what the fuck it is. It's something that is unidentified, and it's flying.
Right.
Paranormal, it's the same. But, like, the problem with all of it is like it gets this bad rap, and and people, feed on that to try to sell whatever they're trying to sell. Yeah. When the reality is like there are things that are going on,
right,
that are beyond our comprehension, and it's like I really feel like we're able to see and hear and know these things, or maybe some other sense like that we all have in us, that we're all born with, that we're able, but just over time and evolution, like we've just lost this ability to, connect with.
Yeah. Well, we have more than 6 senses. And this is my prime example of this. Of course, you see here, these are all tangible things like smell, taste. But when you close your eyes, you always know where your limbs are, right?
Yeah.
You always know where your hands are in space, your legs, all that. That's a sense that we have. It's after the 6, our 6 senses that we have. And so that's not something you can tangibly see or feel, or you don't even know how the fuck it works in your brain, right? Mm-hmm. How do I know when I close my eyes that my hand is over here and I can feel, even not looking at it, I can feel that it's over here in space, where everything's at. I don't know how that works. I'm sure some neuroscientists could explain, or maybe not, because they still don't know how the brain works all the way either. But it's the same thing with paranormal. Just because I can't explain it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, I've used this example. Me and Nikki talk about this all the time, but and I have these dreams all the time, like about my mom or something, and you're in the dream, and it's like you're communicating with them, but we're not speaking. It's like you're just communicating, and I believe that type of communication, telepathy or whatever you want to call it, it's like we have that ability, and we have this underlying way to communicate with things that we, just because we don't see it with our eyes doesn't mean that these things aren't here.
Right.
It's our fucking eyes. It's like,
right.
I mean, I don't know. I could talk.
Well, also people don't understand that your brain makes up a lot of shit that you see.
That's what I was going to say.
Hear.
Your brain cannot see what's going on.
Yeah.
Your eyes are just interpreting for your brain.
Yeah.
And just as your hands are interpreting to your brain,
right,
all of these things. So,
well, and you actually see your nose all the time.
Yeah.
Your brain just edits it out.
Yeah.
I mean, your brain is fucking with you all the time.
Yeah.
With doing shit like that. And so there's so much shit that our brain edits out. And it's like one of the big things in the paranormal is pareidolia, that we try to get people to understand what pareidolia is. When you see an elephant in the clouds, that is pareidolia. Your brain's trying to make sense.
Yeah, it's trying to make sense of whatever this thing is.
Yeah. So when we look at a picture, people want to say lens flare is a ghost, or it looks like there's a face in it. No, it's just a lens flare.
Yeah.
Your brain is trying to make sense of it. Or like a reflection in a window. Well, I see a face. Or when you wake up in the middle of the night and your bathrobe is hanging up and you think there's a fucking person standing in your bed.
Exactly.
Until you turn the light on.
Yeah.
That's pareidolia. Your brain's trying to make sense.
Yeah, your brain is trying to make it something that you understand.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I'm just a really big believer in all that. And I hate that even talking about these type of things and paranormal things and UAPs, UFOs, whatever, is just, it sounds dumb, even when I hear myself say it now. But it's like, it's deeper than that. All of these things are deeper than just the surfacey conversation about it,
Well, I think also we've got this thing in our pop culture, in our society, that we can only talk about this shit during September, October.
Yeah.
Spooky season.
Yeah, well,
and that's when it's predominant on TV and the networks and shit. They show all the haunted movies, Halloween movies, the ghost movies, shit like that. When it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
Why is it just relegated to a month and a half, the end of September and October?
It's always amazing to me because I do this all the time, but I try to take myself out of Tim in 2025 and put myself into the biblical times or whatever, and it's just like, they didn't have all of these distractions, the TVs, all the things that we're looking at and seeing and all this. It's like they were there with their thoughts and doing all the things. It's just like we have created this culture of, hey, we only talk about these spooky things in October, September, October. We celebrate this and this time. And it's like things are happening all the time. It's just, imagine if you took a baby and just didn't put it in society. It's like, how would that baby go?
It's like The Village. M. Night Shyamalan was The Village.
Oh, yeah.
Where they were in modern times, but they, were off in this park. Nobody bothered them.
Could you imagine that, though? I mean,
it'd be crazy.
It would be awesome if we could do that, but it's like we're just that's how we've evolved into the shit that we do and see and all these things. But
well, like even back 100 years ago, 120 years ago, Victorian times, they didn't tell ghost stories on Halloween.
Yeah,
they told ghost stories on Christmas Eve in front of the fire.
Yeah,
that was there. That's why you get people are always like, well, why is A Christmas Carol a ghost story? Because when Charles Dickens wrote it in the Victorian times, that's when they told ghost stories. Was during Christmas time, and most of the traditions there's a lot of crazy paranormal fucking traditions around Christmas, with all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
There's I forget what it's called, but there's a horse head. People would wear this horse skull and come to your door, and you'd have to sing to them. If not, they come in and rob you of all your beer and food. You had to have a rap battle with them. That's what it was. You had to out-rap them. You had to out-rhyme them.
Yeah.
The homeowner did. But anyway, there's all these crazy paranormal things. And like people would put out, what was it on their porch? They put an odd number of things on their porch, but they had to go over like 10 because demons couldn't count past 10, and they couldn't count anything that was odd.
Yeah.
And so demons couldn't come in. Things like that. But that was all around Christmas. They did that. I mean, you have Krampus and all that stuff, which were real beliefs, which are scary horror movie shit.
Yeah.
But that's at Christmas. So, yeah, it's just a modern thing that we've made it spooky season or whatever.
I mean, I guess I can't complain too much because, like, if you think about talking about the paranormal now is a hell of a lot more acceptable than talking about it even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever the case may be. It's just in talking about UFOs and UAPs and interdimensional things and all the quantum things is more acceptable now than it was. Because before, even 20 years ago, like if you tried to talk about anything like that, you were just no. This it's like I have a problem with like us putting ourselves in a box of all these things and not allowing to be like, well, what if everything is happening all at once?
But people like their boxes because they're scared of what's outside that box.
I know, and I get it, and that's generally how people are, and they feel safe in that box. But you get to the point in your life where you don't want to be in that box anymore.
Right.
You're just like, because you know internally that there's something more.
Yeah.
And whether it be religion or whatever it is, it's like you have a feeling that there is something more, and it's like you're seeing it and hunting it and looking for it and investigating it and learning the history of all these things to try to understand why I have this feeling of this thing is here.
Well, and the reason I started out investigating to begin with when I was a teenager is because, my dad died when I was 14, and he was agnostic. So he believed in something beyond us, and that's kind of how I was raised, but just didn't do organized religion. And so I wanted to go prove to myself that he didn't just disappear.
Yeah.
I wanted to prove that he was still around and that there's somewhere we go when we die. And that's what threw me in as a teenager. And still to this day, that's probably part of the reason why I still investigate. But I investigate for the thrill of it now, too, because it's a lot of fun, especially when you get something that you can't explain. You get a voice on the tape or something like that that's a direct answer to your question.
Yeah.
How do you explain that shit? So it gets you excited. But I probably research, and we live in the Bible Belt, so you have all these religious people that yell, you're dealing with fucking demons and shit and whatever. But I think researching and investigating the paranormal has probably turned me more toward belief in a God, or something beyond us, a heaven and a hell, probably than any church ever could.
I know, and that's a lot of the problem that I have because I'm a very firm believer in God and all that. I know that I don't act like it all the time, but I really am. But God would not want us to disregard any of these things that we see and that we feel, because that's like, I believe in all of the things that we've talked about today, but also believe that there's a God that is kind of doing all that. I feel like the Bible and all that kind of stuff, God put here for us to have some sort of understanding as the peons that we are, our little human brains can understand, to make it in a way that, because you can take the Bible in so many different ways. Every story in the Bible is not just literal. There's so many different levels of meaning and all that. But
well, I mean, how supernatural and paranormal is the Bible? Yeah. I mean, look at all the crazy supernatural paranormal stuff in the Bible.
That's the people that have a problem with it, though, are the ones that are, it's funny. I think that we've had this conversation a number of times that those type of things are those people, especially the type of people that you see on TV that are the big Bible thumpers and all this kind of stuff, is not like the normal Christian and the normal person, the normal believer. It's just, it's like everything. Same with politics. It's like you got the far right and you got the far left, and most people are just center. It's like whoever's screaming the loudest gets the most attention, and it's fucking bullshit.
And they're usually the minority, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I think I think I said that in another show. Is like it's always the fucking minority that is heard, and it's like, because people like me and you and everybody else is just kind of like, man, I don't want to stir up any trouble. I don't want any,
just trying to live my life.
Trying to live my life. And it's like, then you got these 10 motherfuckers over here that are, we're going to do what they want. So they're happy. And so,
well, even in here in Fairview, I mean, we've seen the town grow from being a lot more judgmental small town where everybody knew everybody and knew everybody's business, to what it is now, to where it's a lot more laid back, I feel, because everybody doesn't know everybody anymore. And also, when we were growing up, everybody went to church.
Yeah.
Except for us, Yeah. And so we were saw as heathens because we didn't go to church because everybody knew everybody. And now you have so many people in town that don't go to church. And I think it's made it more laid back. But what I was getting at is that doing, like this Saturday, I'll have a booth at the Arts and Crafts Fair. I just thought of something else from the last time I did Arts and Crafts Fair last year. But I'll have a booth at Arts and Crafts Fair out here in Fairview. And there's been several times where I've had little granny come up and tell me I'm going to hell, that I'm doing demon stuff because
just shit like that. Just like it's just dumb.
Well, the funny thing is, last year the reason I started laughing because last year the Arts and Crafts Fair was at Nature Fest. One of the things we did out here at Bowie and had a tent, and I'm selling crystals and shit, and advertising my podcast and things. They put us right next to the Church of Christ booth. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great.
It's all right. You can leave it open. It's hot in here.
Thank you for putting us right next to Church of Christ.
I know, that's pretty funny.
Well, on the other side, no, we were across from the Church of Christ tent. And right next to us was a lady who made homemade cookies and stuff. And she just, whenever we started setting up, she just looked at me and busted out laughing. Because she knew, I forget her name. She's been here her whole life too. But she just knew how, not picking on anybody's Church of Christ, but the Church of Christ people out here, anyway.
It's not just out here. I mean, there's just that group of people, and like I said, most of the time, most people, regardless of religious belief, and I know you probably haven't heard all of KV's podcast, but that's kind of one of the things I was asking him about. The people over in Afghanistan, they didn't give a fuck about religion and all that kind of stuff. They just wanted to be left alone.
Right.
It's just like these Muslim extremists, that minority is the ones that's fucking it up for all those people that just want to live peaceful lives. He's like, they want to grow their wheat, they want to fucking tend their sheep, and they want to be left the fuck alone. Yeah. So that's where we're at. All right, hang on a second. All right, so out here, let's talk a little bit about Fairview, since this is the Fairview Social Podcast.
Yeah, and I was talking about the Bible Belt. And
you were talking about the Bible Belt. We had to stop for a second there. Nature called.
Yeah.
But so, in case people that are listening don't know, me and Eric have known each other pretty much all of our lives.
Yeah.
We lived over there. Well, people of Fairview would know. Probably Brush Creek, they would know that, but we lived off of that I lived on Farallon. He lived on, I guess you still live on Singer. Is it Singer?
Singer Drive. The Brush Creek subdivision, as they call it.
The Brush Creek.
That's what the rednecks on Brush Creek call it, the Brush Creek subdivision.
But one of the things I was thinking about today, as I was thinking about that, I think we've even talked about it in the past few years, that time, how old were we? When we were playing around out in that little wooded area there that had the trail, and I always called it the hill.
Probably 8 or 9.
Like on my side of it,
yeah.
It's like I would come down and I'd ride my bike through those trails. I mean, and remember when you're fucking 9 or 10 years old, it's like all that shit was like, I'm in the forest. The reality is it was like maybe like a quarter of an acre of woods or something.
Maybe 2 acres.
A couple acres of
with
wood.
houses. I mean, there's houses and yards all around it. It's just in the middle. It's a place they couldn't build houses back when they built ours.
But now there's actually houses in there. Yeah. But it was funny. I'd ride my bike through there, and you go down this hill, and you come up, and you go around to the other trails, and I'm like, oh, I'm in the Singer Drive area, which my mom wouldn't. You're going too far when you go down there, which was literally not even a quarter mile down the road. It's like right around,
not even a block,
like a block around there. But anyway, one time I was riding my bike through there. You tell the story.
Well, best I remember it. For some reason, I don't know. I was a hellion when I was a kid, but I was on a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Riding 4-wheelers.
That's why my mom didn't ever want me to go around there because like she didn't want me fucking around and getting on the 4-wheeler and hurting myself. Of course, I ended up getting hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. You and Joseph and Nathan ended up getting hurt anyway, even staying away from all that stuff. But I was at the top of so one side of this hill was really long, and the other side was a bit not as steep and not as long. And we have the drainage creek that runs down through the bottom of it. And I was up at the top of the hill, and I think you were at the bottom of the creek, and I told you to move.
Yeah. This
is how I remember it. Tell me if I'm misremembering. But I told you to move, and you pissed me off because you wouldn't move because I was on my little 4-wheeler, and you're on your bike, and I'm like, I'm on my 4-wheeler. I'm better than you or whatever. Yeah. Little kid bravado bullshit. And so I ran you the fuck over.
You were like, you better move. I'm going to run over you. And I'm like, surely he won't run over me. And that motherfucker came down, and you really did run over me.
Ramped right over the bike with you underneath it.
I don't know, man. I don't know why I thought that was so funny because that was like the most traumatic thing that happened in my life at that point because, I mean, we were all pretty sheltered. Like me and my brothers were pretty sheltered and nothing ever happened and we weren't really allowed to do much. It's funny when I look back at it in retrospect, it was like we were pretty sheltered. And then when I got hit, I mean, it's not so dramatic that I got ran over, but I mean, I got hit by that fucking 4-wheeler.
You know, I think Joseph is more traumatized by it because he's brought it up more over the years than you ever have.
I didn't even remember it until we were, you know, it just like clicked in my mind one time and I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't remember. I couldn't believe that you were like you said you were going to do it and you did. So.
But yeah, randomly over the years, Joseph was like, "You ran over my brother."
That's funny. Yeah. But being out here all of your life, like I guess you've probably heard me and Bert talking about just like the massive changes that have happened out here. Just you know, it's good to talk to people that have been out here for a long time and to really to have an understanding because there's a lot of new people out here.
Yeah.
And they don't understand like this was nothing years ago. And it's like to see what it is now, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I remember one of the things that I vividly remember about Fairview is my dad was a chain smoker. And so when we were kids, when I was a kid, we would go to Bradford's Foodland.
Yeah. Over there
on our side of town.
Co-op is.
Yeah. Where Co-op is now. And a little bit more about Bradford's Foodland, but I remember they had ashtrays all over the store, and I specifically remember this ashtray in the produce section, because I thought, okay, all the other places
you need to stop off and knock that old ash off.
So all around the rest of the store, I'm like, there's not like open food, but even as a kid, I was like, why would you have a fucking ashtray in the produce section with like open tomatoes and things, you know?
Yeah.
But my dad would walk around chain smoking throughout the store while we were shopping. Mm-hmm. And it was just a normal thing. And then like McDonald's had the little
tin ashtrays.
McDonald's emblem in them.
What we call a La Plaza.
El Jarditos.
Well, we call it El Jarditos. Yeah. They probably don't know that we call it that, but all of Old Fairview knows that that's El Jarditos because, you know, back when we were younger, they opened that Hardee's and they had those little fucking ashtrays too. Yeah. Like you could sit in there and smoke.
And that's why there's a wall there because one side was smoking and the other side was non-smoking.
Yeah, well,
which didn't stop the smoke from going over to the non-smoking.
Even La Plaza had smoking in there at the time.
Yeah, that's
because that was the smoking section. Mm-hmm. Because Hayden was a baby in his little car seat. Like still like baby. We'd cover his ass up. We'd be like smoking section. And then it's like, but when you look back at that, not just for here in Fairview, but look at the whole smoking and thing, it's like, why would humanity even think that like, hey, it's okay to smoke over here, and then I'm not going to smell the smoke over here in this section? It's like it's fucking going everywhere.
Yeah.
It's funny to think.
I remember my dad smoking everywhere. Walking to the gas station with a cigarette hanging out your mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, pumping gas with a cigarette hanging out your mouth, you know, and shit like that. Like a cigarette's not going to set gas on fire, but still.
People lose their minds about that stuff now. I'm like,
but Bradford's Grocery, Miss Bradford, who owned it, and for whatever reason, as a kid, I remember her being like an old lady, but she really wasn't.
Yeah,
I think she was like in her maybe 40s or 50s, but she was missing her arm to the elbow on one arm, and I think it was her left arm. And she always freaked me out as a kid because when she'd brag your groceries, she would use that nub to open the paper bags with the nub on one side and the hand on the other. So she's opened the bag and holding it open because that's when is also we didn't have plastic bags. It was all
She's
paper
making
bags.
use of that thing.
She's got that nub down in there, opening it up and putting groceries in there. I'm like, it's touching my groceries. Like I just as a kid, I thought it was the grossest thing.
I think I remember that. I remember that now that you mention it. Yeah. That's fucking crazy. I was gonna ask you because I hadn't talked about this to anyone else. You remember Hazel?
Yeah.
So what road is that out there?
Cox Pike.
Off of Cox Pike down there, like when you get deep into it, there's this old little place. And when I was in high school, me and Ben and everybody else, we'd go get cigarettes. And I remember I was like fucking 13 or 14. And I was like, Ben's like, just go in there, just be cool.
Yeah.
And just tell her what you want. Old Hazel is his old lady. It's Danny Lampley's mom. Yeah. And so I'm like so nervous. I'm like 13 or 14 years old, and I'm going in there. And so I'm like, I'm gonna walk around the store so I look like I'm shopping. It's like fucking Doritos that's got dust and shit all over them because nobody went in there for anything but to get cigarettes,
beer and cigarettes
for minors.
Yeah.
And so I go in there the first time, and I'm like, looking around. I'm like, all right. Moment of truth. I go up and, how you doing, young man? I'm doing pretty good. Like trying to talk in like a deeper voice. And I'm like, can I get a pack of Camel Lights? And she's like, because they told me, they're like, she's not going to ask for your ID. She's not going to ask for it. She'll just look at you and then she'll give you your cigarettes. Can I get a pack of Camel Lights? She like looks at me and she says, well, can I see your ID? Like, fuck. And so maybe I was 15 because I had a learner's permit. So I give her my ID, and she looks at it. She's adjusting her glasses. I mean, she's old back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
80 or something.
Yeah.
She's like adjusting her glasses. And she looks at it. And she hands it back to me. And she gets the cigarettes and puts them down. I'm like, all right. But I swear to God, I've never been so nervous because I was like, she's going to get me. And then we were going there like every other day going and getting cigarettes.
I think the first time I went in there was when I was 16 because I was driving my Camaro. And I didn't even go in there to buy beer for myself or cigarettes for myself, I think, because my mom bought me cigarettes. And I had a neighbor down the street who got all the booze for me I wanted. So I didn't even go in there for myself. I went in there for somebody... one of the people who used to ride home with me from school, she's passed away, so I won't say her name. But I went in there for her to get her cigarettes. She smoked menthols and get her, I think Boone's Farm or something like that, like malt liquor, fucking Mad Dog 2020 or something. And I'm like, I don't need to do this. Like I got people that get it for me, Yeah. But that was a different time too, where they were like, I had people that were like the neighbor lady I was best friends with her son, and a couple houses down in Old Mail. And she's like, well, if you're going to drink and get high, weed, you might as well just stay here, where I know where you're at. You're not out driving. And so we were going to do it anyway. So, which I did it anyway, because the first time I ever met your whole group of friends and became friends with Ben and Russell and Clay and all them, I think I was 14 or 15 as far as driving. And I was walking up to y'all's house to see what y'all are up to, specifically Joseph, because me and Joseph have been best friends pretty much since we were 5. And so I was walking up to see what y'all are doing. And all of a sudden, the big purple van pulls up, and anybody outside looked like y'all kidnapped a teenager. Because the door opens, and there's a keg, and there's Clay, and there's... I don't even think you were there. I think it was Russell and Joseph. And they had kidnapped Joseph from your house, even though you weren't there. And they just snatched me in the van. And there's a keg of Killian's, and we rode around the big purple van of Ben's and drank Killian's. I don't remember what else we did. But after that... I was in the gang. I was part of the crew after that.
It was always funny doing that stuff because, like...
Oh, I know why you weren't there, because that's after your parents got divorced, so y'all were at Old Man Studios.
Yeah.
The original one, and they had come by. And I think we ended up coming to Old Man Studios with the gig, but yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because, me and Joseph and Ben and Russell, we're also vanilla. We're also lame. And, Clay was, that spark of, doing, hey, I know that you've been taught all your life not to do these things, but here, do these things, and it's awesome. And so we would do it. But it was always a cautious level of it.
Yeah.
It's like we never, there you see movies or you hear stories of all these hellions around town doing things. We never did anything very extreme. We were just like laid low enough to like.
It was always victimless crimes.
Yes, victimless crime.
Yeah, nobody's gonna get hurt.
Going around in the purple van, drinking a keg of beer, like
minors
pumping those stupid Killians because Ben always wanted to get Killians. Killian's is so good. No, Ben, it's Irish piss. It's like, nah.
Anybody doesn't know, this was a Barney purple van.
Yes, it was.
A conversion van that had a love seat in the back of it and carpet.
It did. All of those things are true. Yeah. I'll never forget riding around in that thing and we're shooting Roman candles out the window. The cars. Like, I guess we were following somebody or something and we were just like, get the lighter and, light the Roman candle and shoot. We weren't that's what's funny is like we did this thing that is illegal and dumb, but we didn't do it to somebody that we didn't know. Right, we did it to whoever we were following, like a friend of ours that we were following.
Well, then also, I can't tell you how many nights we'd have parties at Dee Dee's when you and Dee Dee were dating.
Yeah.
And we'd have these massive parties over there in Bellevue at the Bacons and Dee Dee and Jamie. And me and Russell cuddled more than one night in that fucking floor of that van because it would be like nice and warm summer night or nice and warm when the night started out. And then it was cold as fuck. So me and Russell are like huddling together in the van floor trying to stay warm. And that happened probably, I don't know, because I would fall asleep on the deck, the big giant pool deck they had.
Yeah.
And then I was like roaming around like, where am I going to sleep? I'm not going to sleep on the floor in the Bacons. Like everybody's sleeping there. And I'd always find Russell on the floor of the van. And so I would just cuddle up with him for warmth.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's back in the old Chester Boom days, me and Jeremy. And I don't know that if I mentioned this, but the song that plays on the beginning of this podcast is actually a Chester Boom song for people that don't know. It's a song that me and Jeremy wrote, and it's good to not have to worry about royalty-free music. Of course, Jeremy might be mad about it. I don't know. But yeah, we had a lot of fun back then. That was funny.
It was a lot of fun.
I always tell people the best place to go in Fairview now, where you can see old Fairview and new Fairview like collide, is go to the dump. you go to the dump and you got some guy throwing his couch away, and then old Fairview's like looking in the dumpster like, hey, that might be a good couch. We could use that couch over there.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of stories. It's crazy to think now all these new places, and I noticed that they got the signs up and everything on that new elite building.
Yeah,
I guess for
the gymnastics gym. Yeah,
gymnastics. So that thing's going. Just waiting for another Mexican restaurant.
We're getting another pizza place.
I know. I saw that. Coming. Papa John's.
Ace Hardware.
Yeah, that is cool. The Ace Hardware will be good.
That is the guy who owns Food Saver is building that. Yeah. And there's actually going to be 2 lots up there. One's going to be Ace Hardware, and the other lot he's going to build a suit and rent it out to somebody else.
That'll be good. You remember I remember back when we were younger, like that, where they're putting that Ace Hardware was like the forbidden land. Where the France plant burned down years ago.
If I'm not mistaken, they used to use tannerite in Transformers, and that's why they used to explode.
Yeah,
big explosions of a squirrel that got up there and fuck with shit. And there's a lot of, I want to say it was tannerite. I may be wrong. But a lot of it was buried in the ground, and they had to give it so many years for it to become inert, because when they start digging tannerite, you hit it with anything, it blows the fuck up. And there was a lot in the ground.
You think that's why nothing's ever been up there?
Yeah. There was something in the ground. I think it was tannerite. I mean, like I said, I may be wrong, but there was something in the ground they couldn't dig because they hit it would blow up.
Yeah.
And my mom actually worked at that France factory when it burned down.
Yeah, it's crazy that thing, even when we were kids and the bus would come and pick us up and we'd drive by there, always roped off.
Yeah.
And then when I saw him, you didn't see it because you're not on Fairview then and now because you've been banned. Because you've been banned. But a few weeks ago, somebody posted it, and I was like, oh shit, somebody's finally going to do something with it. I didn't realize it was like forbidden for a reason.
Yeah, there's something in the ground. Like I said, I think it was tannerite, but yeah, chemicals or something. And France also owned that property.
Yeah.
And so they held on to it for a long time. I guess in case they want to build a warehouse or whatever. But they've switched over. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Scott Fitzer France company, they switched over to LEDs now. They don't even do the big transformers going poles anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do LED ballast and LED lights.
For all I know,
AutoZone lights, all the AutoZone lights that you see on the outside of the building, that's the Scott Fitzer France Corporation.
I've never known what France does over there. I've always thought of it as like they've got some kind of secret operation going on in there. No. But of course, Armando shut me down pretty quick about my theories of drug cartels and the Mexican restaurant. So I need to watch what I say.
No, my mom used to pour the tar into the transformers. So after they have all the wires, like all the copper wire and stuff that makes transformer work, they cover it all in tar, so it doesn't, I guess, arc on the outside shit and all that. So it keeps it insulated. But that's what my mom used to do. And now our good friend Angel, you know Angel, she's the shipping receiving manager, and now they've switched over to all LED stuff. So they make LED light components, and like AutoZone's one of their biggest customers with the LED lights.
You know of anything else that's coming in over here in Fairview?
The town center is going to be a huge thing. I'm pretty sure we're getting Chick-fil-A in there.
It looks like it's going to be a pretty big deal. Everybody, of course, again, you didn't see this because you're not allowed to get on Fairview then and now, but everybody was losing their minds when they started clearing out that area beside the Cedar Crest or whatever it's called over there. But I guess it's a private-owned land. A guy can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, and I think the guy's just prepping the land.
For something commercial.
But also, he's going to make his money back and then some by having the land prepped and then sell it to somebody, a commercial builder, right? So with the land the way it was, well, then the builder's got to come in and do all the things this guy's doing, right? Well, he's just making as the landowner. If he has the money, he's going in there and making it more attractive to a commercial builder.
Yeah, he's done all the work. All you got to do is come in here and build something on it.
And a lot of people threw a fit about, and I did hear about this and see this, about Lisa Anderson, the mayor. Mm-hmm. She just went on there and said, nothing's come in front of us. But a lot of people went on there and took it as, she said nothing's being built there. She didn't say that. She said, I watch all the meetings. I watch all the city council meetings on YouTube. I watch the planning committee meetings. Nothing has come in front of them asking to be built there. Like there's no plans or anything. Now she might know something through the grapevine, or the owners told her something's coming in. But officially, there's nothing coming in there. And that's what she said online. And people took it, well, there's something coming. We know it, type of shit. And
well, yeah, I'm sure something is coming. But it's not like it's her fault or anyone else's fault.
But until the plan's coming from the planning commission and they go to the city council, nothing's coming in front of them. So there's nothing set in stone.
Yeah.
And that's what she was saying with her post, because I saw her post, because she posted just on Facebook in general, too. But so there's no definite plans yet.
People just lose their minds on that shit, and like I'm all for, like, I like a small town. I like, I've lived here all of my life, and you've lived here all of your life, and there's a reason for that, because we like where we live.
Yeah.
The reality is this is a desirable place to go, and I don't have a problem with new people coming in, and I don't have a problem with businesses, because it's not like you can get way big, it's like we can continue to build stuff. Now, maybe I'll get more pissed off if somebody starts building something down here behind my house. But,
it's a nice, beautiful field.
It's like a fucking neighborhood back there. Yeah. But it's like I'm not going to get on there and complain and say, oh, I can't. That's just how this stuff goes.
Well, and also what people don't understand, they bitch about a lot online with the growth, is that the city cannot tell you what you can or can't do with your land. Mm-hmm. As long as you're within the ordinances of what the law requires, they can't tell you can't sell it to a developer. As long as that developer comes in and follows the rules, they can build whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And as long as they follow the city's rules. And the city cannot block anybody from building on their own damn land.
Yeah.
If they're willing to play ball along the rules, And that's what people don't understand. Like, well, just vote no. Well, just like the city attorney's told them many, many times, the city council, you don't have the option to vote no, because you can't tell them they can't build on their own land. And that's where we got into the weeds with the previous administration and previous city manager, got us into debt up to our eyeballs because there's so many lawsuits from these contractors and things, because they were voting no and saying, no, we're not, even though you're, and these contractors, these big ones, take you to court, and the judge ruled, no, you have to let them build along these parameters, type of shit. So now we've finally gotten our whatever you think of the commissioners we have or the city manager or the city attorney, they've turned our damn city around and we're not in debt anymore. We actually have a surplus of money to use. And we were $13 million in debt when Mr. Doherty came in as the city manager. We got rid of fucking Scott Collins. He dismantled our entire maintenance department down to 2 employees. Well, how the hell are you supposed to get brush picked up and road maintenance and roadkill taken off the road when you have 2 employees for the whole city? And so now this city council and this city manager have built all that back up to where we have the brush removal now and things. And people, complain about trash picking and stuff. Well, now we're moving in a direction as a city that maybe at some point in time we can have city trash pickup. Yeah. Because we have so many households and things. We have a surplus of money, things like that. But people bitch about so many things that are just like they don't educate themselves.
Well, I was going to say the main thing is, and you just get to the point where, well, this is the problem. Someone that has common sense thinking like me or you, it's like you eat the meat and spit out the bones. Yeah, it's like, yeah, maybe this person's pissed off about this because they're personally emotional about whatever thing this is. But the reality is like, that's not how things work in the world. Right. It's like just because you don't want to see these trees get cut down, doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. I'm 100% convinced. Me and Riley talked about this in my first podcast about down there on 90, right where 96 is, where they're clearing all that on 196.
Right before the barbecue guy? Northwest Highway? Or?
No, I'm talking about like Franklin 96.
Oh, okay.
You go down 100 and they've cleared all that shit out right there. Yeah. It's like it took them 3 years to do it. And I'm convinced that like they just did it a little bit at a time, because if they went through there and just chopped all that shit out, that they could do it in like a day or two, people would lose their minds about it.
Well, they got in big trouble with T-Deck for that. That's why. Oh, they're not building there anymore.
Oh, really?
Because they went and fucking clear cut too many trees. Well, that causes erosion. And then you have the Harpers River right there, which is all of the soil's going into the river. Yeah. And that's where Franklin gets their drinking water from. So you're contaminating the soil. You're taking oxygen out of the water, killing fish and things like that. And so they got fined like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, wow. I didn't
They were going to put what they call equestrian houses.
What does that mean?
So that means that you have a house and a property big enough to have fucking horses. So you're talking 7 or 8 acres per big, giant, multi-million-dollar house.
So they're not building on top of that hill anymore?
Nope.
Nothing.
No, that they had to pay a lot of fines to the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation.
Well, that sucks because they cleared all that shit out for nothing. I mean, that's kind of sucks.
If anything, you'll see them hiring somebody to get back there and plant trees back in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, people have a misunderstanding. You have to, like, when you're reading comments on that stuff. Yeah. I'm sure Lisa Anderson and Buffalini's the same. Commissioner Buffalini, when he came in here, he actually did mention that, like, how things were all kind of fucked up, but like kind of turned around at this point. Everything's looking good. But he was talking about, or I forgot what I was going to say, but we were just talking about how it's like people lose their minds on this kind of stuff, but it's like you have to, let's clear away all the comments of people crying about it because of their personal feelings on it. But like, here, what is the law? What is the ordinance here? What are the things?
One of the things here lately was the police shooting range.
Oh yeah.
And now we're going to spend $1 million to put it in fucking Lyles
County. Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense. We have a piece of property that's swampland and 29 acres, and they're yelling it's park property when it's not. It's not under the conservation. But it's emotions. I don't know. You're going to shoot my children. No, you're not. No, they're not.
I'm all for progress. I'm all for, I think that we're doing it smart.
Yeah.
We're not just higgledy-piggledy throwing shit up. Because if that was the case, we would have started doing that 15, 20 years ago when people, actually probably less than that. I mean, everybody just recently started wanting to come here. What I usually talk to old Fairview folks like me and you, it's like we were the laughing stock. I remember back in the day, like when we might have had like snow days or something. I remember I'm like, I'll call Eric and I'm going to call Barry and all the people that lived around me. And let's get fucking buckets of water and we're going to throw it on the road and let it freeze over. and we'll get out of school for the next, because Fairview got Williamson County out of school because of all of our back roads and all that stuff. And now it's like that was the only thing we were good for back then.
Right.
That's all we were good for. And now I was renting my house down here when I bought this house up here, and I rented it for a couple years, and then like the market blew up, and I'm just like, maybe I'm going to sell this thing and get in while the getting's good, because I got like 3 times as much as what I spent on it. And so it's like, all that to say, I'm fine with progress. I don't have a problem with it. Of course, if people started building back here, I'd probably complain about it, but I still like Fairview.
What are you going to do about it? It is what it is.
I know. I get mad because it takes me forever to get home from work now, because, you know, and Roger knows this too. It's like you get all the way, it's like you have to fight all the Nashville shit, and it sucks. And it used to be you get to Briley Parkway, and you're just like, bam, home.
Yeah.
Now you get to Briley Parkway, and then you go a little bit. And then when you get to the like McCory Lane, then you're like traffic like this. It takes forever, and you're about to lose your mind. You get off at the Fairview exit, you get past Westwood, and then you have to fucking deal with that to get to. Well, you would go the other way, but to get to this way, the traffic's just awful.
Because of the lights, back up.
Everybody complains about it, but
they're widening 65 for the 20th time now, and it's going to be 1,800 lanes wide. You know, but they can't fucking widen 40, and they can't put Highway 100 4 lanes through Fairview.
Yeah, I know. It all that kind of stuff is what bothers me. I don't care about like businesses and doing all the things. I'll support local businesses. But like,
the one thing that I bitch about just to myself in the car that just, I don't know why it irritates me, but if I get in the line at like McDonald's or like Hardee's, hint, hint.
I'm sorry. I should have filled it up a minute. It's not my intention for you.
If I get in the line at like McDonald's or Hardee's or even like Publix Pharmacy to pick up a prescription, and there's somebody in front of me from like Cheatham County, Hickman County, Dixon County, like, go back to your fucking own county. Stop fucking up Fairview. We don't have enough traffic. That's the only time I bitch about it is like, why are you doing business in Fairview? You know, like I love Fairview, and yes, it's great. We have a great Walmart. And like Dixon's kind of ghetto, whatever. Centerville's even more ghetto.
No, it's not kind of, Eric. It's ghetto as fuck.
Yeah, but I'm like, why are you coming here fucking shit up? Like, you know, it just irritates me for whatever reason.
Yeah,
because you got the Cheatham County mom. Why are you here from Cheatham County anyway? I understand Hickman County, Dixon. But Cheatham County mom's got 18 kids in the car, and they're all getting fucking Happy Meals, and she's fucking up my day because it takes 45 minutes to get her fucking order, and all I want's a fucking Coke, you know? And I'm like, go back to fucking Cheatham County. You got a McDonald's in fucking Ashland City, you know? And so that's the shit that gets me. There's my cousin was talking to a lady, and she moved here from California. She moved here from California into one of the newer subdivisions, and she said she moved to get to like a slower pace of life, and she wasn't liking the politics in California. And she said she got all moved in because she bought the house sight unseen, like a lot of these California people do, right? Because they get millions of dollars for their own house, and they come out here and buy a house for half the price. And so she told him that she got moved in the neighborhood and started meeting the neighbors, and they're all from California.
Oh, are they really?
And she's like, I'm trying to fucking get away from those people.
Well, at least maybe they'll be like the like-minded people from California that don't want to deal with that shit. But all in all, it's like I love it out here.
Well, about 10 years ago, I think is when shit kind of changed. And I noticed this in high school, especially when we became junior seniors. A bunch of friends were like, can't fucking wait to get out of here. Can't wait to get out of Fairview. Can't wait to get out of Fairview. And then I noticed about 10 years ago, late 20s, early 30s, they're all fucking moving back because they're like,
so they leave and then they come back.
They left and then they realize, oh, Williamson County has good schools and Fairview doesn't have any crime. I'm living in fucking Chicago where I'm afraid my kid's going to get shot going to elementary school. Like, you know, and so a lot of my high school people I went to high school with have moved. A huge bunch of them have moved back to Fairview or this area to raise their families.
We've stuck it out like champs. It's like, I don't have any intentions. Man, it's sad. It really kind of is sad. I've moved like 7 or 8 times, and it's all been in Fairview. I can't even at least say, well, I was living in North Chicago, and I decided to come back. I'm just like literally hopping like a mile or 2 down the road living in Fairview.
Well, I've lived in the same fucking house my entire life, basically. Yeah. I mean, other than moving out, I mean, you know, I inherited from my parents when they're both gone, like your parents, but you know, I inherited from them, which sucks, but I live in the same fucking house my entire life.
Yeah.
So it's just comfortable. And we've changed it, of course, into what we want it to be and whatever. It's completely different. But talking about prices, shit, my parents bought that house for $35,000 in 1974 or 75.
Yeah.
And it's worth almost $400,000 right now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, because I remember my dad bought our house over there right down the road from you for around the same price, maybe a little bit more, in 1981.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy to think that they spent that much on the place and the value of them now. It's funny when you see people, they're building they're building some big ass houses out here. I mean, hell, this over here on, what is it, the Reserve at Chester or whatever the hell they're calling it. It's like, those are supposed to be, like $1 million homes.
Have you seen the Brush Creek subdivision part 2?
No, I hadn't even been out there.
So Fairlawn now, it used to go across, you have the two houses and it was just like fucking gravel.
Yeah.
No, now it's a proper road to a neighborhood where there's been 48 houses behind.
So when you turn on Fairlawn,
when you turn on Brush Creek,
you turn on Brush Creek.
You can turn left on Fairlawn to go down where you used to live and where I live.
Yeah.
Or you can turn right into a fucking neighborhood.
Oh, there's a right there now.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't know that? They're building 48 houses. They start at 700,000 and go up to 1 million.
Really?
Yeah. So now they've cut all the trees down. You can see from Fairlawn, if you're at the stop sign at Fairlawn and Brush Creek, you can see Elantra Gate. You can see all the shit they got parked. You can
really? So you can see all that now.
Yeah, and if you drive back onto what is still Fairlawn in that new neighborhood, you can see Camp Marymount.
Wow.
That property goes all the way back behind the Ivies on Ivy Road.
Mm. I need to check that out. I hadn't been over there in a long time.
Oh, it's crazy. They have a couple of the houses almost built because people are buying them and they're building them as they buy them because they have like different models or whatever.
Nathan used to live out there in Kingston Springs, and I would I would go that way to go to Kingston Springs, but since he left there, it's like I haven't even been that way.
So we're worried about that because there's enough traffic trying to get out of our neighborhood to begin with.
Oh,
on 100.
It sucks right there.
And now you're adding almost 50 more households to Brush Creek. So they have an entrance at one of the entrances into that neighborhood's Fairlawn, and then we go down Brush Creek, the sharp curve. Mm-hmm. There's another one right there, and that's where the clubhouse is going to be at the pool and shit.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's I mean, I think it's fun. It's fun to see all the things that are happening, but I don't lose my mind about things like a lot of people do, but and I don't know if it's the new Fairview that's complaining about it or the old Fairview or both, I don't know who's complaining about it.
To me and Roger talked about this a lot. I think it's the old guard. Yeah. I think it's the good old boy network that misses the good old boy network that used to be out here with the city council and the police department and all that. I think it's a lot of them, like we were talking about earlier, the minority screaming louder than the majority. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it is. I think it's in a way, it's the loss of power.
Yeah, that makes
control.
Sense.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I like it out here in Fairview. I don't plan to leave. I do start thinking about when you deal with all that traffic. I'm like, I'm gonna buy some land further out and build a house, but you still have to deal with all the fucking shit to get to there,
right?
Because until they solve the Fairview traffic, then you're gonna have to deal with it.
Well, the only bitching that we can do about the traffic is to bitch to TDOT and just bug the shit out of them. Yeah. That's something we do. That will get something done. It really will.
Yeah.
If people will call and email them from this community and say, I'm tired of this. We want our tax money going to build 4 lanes through Fairview, And one of my things is like, Fairview, we're spending all this tax money to build sidewalks and shit and having these contractors build sidewalks or building these commercial buildings. But then when TDOT does come through, all them sidewalks are torn the fuck up to put 4 lanes through Fairview.
I know.
And then it's got to be rebuilt. Well, that's a waste of damn money. Like what,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think that's what kind of piqued my interest on it is, they're building, is it Cedar Crest over there? Like when you're going, before you get to Chester?
Yeah, Cedar Point.
Cedar Point or something. Yeah. But like they were over there a few weeks ago working on all the, the sidewalk and the turning lane and all that. I'm like, no, motherfucker, we need to, don't waste the time and money. We got to expand this road a little bit. We need some more room in here.
Yeah.
But it's just getting bad. I mean, all the way from coming off of 96 to, like I said, you guys are a little bit in a better situation because you're on the other side of town. But if you're trying to get into, middle Fairview here, it's like it's impossible.
So I don't know if you've seen the 2040 plan, but I haven't seen anybody talk about this on your show. The 2040 plan is that there's another road that's going to go from town center, from the city hall to 96.
Oh, really?
That will go through town center. And that's why the town center is so important, is that there will be a road that goes to 96 that you can take to go into town center.
Do you think it'll be quicker than going around 96 and coming up through 100?
Well, I think you'll have half people taking it and you'll have half people taking 96, 100. I think it'll divide the traffic up a little better.
But as far as like distance goes, like if there's no traffic or anything, would it make more sense to go through there or to go around?
I think it'll be slower to go through there because you're going to have the town center.
Yeah.
You're going to probably have a roundabout, maybe a light or something, people walking around, things like that. So it might be slower, but at least if we have that, you're dividing the traffic.
Yeah,
and then at the town center on 100, you're going to have a light, and then you already have the light at Publix. So at least you're having some people go that way, some people come 100, and you have a light that's kind of splitting things up. The other thing I think is going to help is they're putting a light on 96 right there behind at Northwest Highway. So if you look, when you go by there, right before you get to the barbecue guy at Northwest Highway, you'll see they're clearing that off. The city's doing that. Our tax money's paying for that. So they're going to straighten out Northwest Highway, and that's going to be a 90-degree intersection with a red light.
Yeah.
And then they're putting a red light at Cumberland. But I think the red light on 96 is going to help with traffic in town because you're going to create a gap there.
Yeah.
Right?
With not so many people all coming at once. And
And so also I think more people from Cox Pike and Northwest Highway will come out that way than they go out Cox Pike to 100 now.
Yeah.
It's that food saver. So I think with a light there, because now, I mean, you go out Northwest Highway, depending on the time of day, you might not be able to get out. In the morning, people going to the interstate, in the evening, people coming from the interstate. But I think they put a light there. I think it's going to help. I think it'll help somewhat, but until we have 4 lanes in Fairview, nothing's going to do the trick. But also, TDOT's coming in paying a bunch of fucking money, spending a bunch of money to put 3 lanes all the way through Fairview.
Yeah.
So they're going to turn lane that's going to go all the way from the 4 lanes to past Walmart.
Yeah.
Because they're putting a light at Cumberland.
Yeah.
And so they're spending all this money. Why not? I'm with you. Why not just 4 lanes? But that's the big thing in Fairview. Everybody's bitching about is traffic.
Yeah.
I think more so than anything else.
Well, I think that they'll get it all situated out. I'm sure that it'll all work itself out one way or the other. Now, let me ask you this: as far as, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and I know that you have allegiances to people, but which Mexican restaurant do you prefer?
La Plaza.
You like La Plaza?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me the reasons why. Is it the food? Is it because you do a lot of trivia, or not? I'm sorry,
we do trivia,
karaoke, and all that stuff.
I don't do karaoke as much. I don't have time as much, but we do trivia a couple of times a month at La Plaza. We really like the food at La Plaza. We like the service. We like the prices. Kano's got too expensive.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm drinking beer, the big beers. I mean, they're half the price at La Plaza for the same beer they are at Kano's. And I understand the price of him expanding, and I still go there and have lunch and stuff. But on a regular basis, and Dos Margaritas, to me, there are a lot of people who love it. To me, it's bland for Mexican food. And that's just my opinion. I think La Plaza.
All right, I'll put you on the spot.
Has a lot more flavor.
Here's mine. Usually, if we go somewhere, we go to Cano's. But if we order, we go to La Plaza because they have a fucking drive-thru.
Right. We also, it's another thing of like you were talking to Armando about. Yeah, we know Armando, we know Maria, and a couple of other people at Kano's. But La Plaza, we kind of know everybody.
Yeah,
like Giovanni, who runs it, Pablo, who's usually our server, Kelly, who's one of the servers, Beto, who's an older guy that's serving there. And they kind of know us when we walk in. They know,
I don't think that Armando would have a problem with that at all, but because he knows that he knows that you guys are loyal to all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And he also knows that like he's so kind to all of those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that he gives a lot of respect to La Plaza because it kind of put him on the map.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love Armando. We do. We've supported him for years. I DJ karaoke for him for years to bring business to La Plaza. We had many after hours tequila drinking parties in the plaza. We'd lock the doors with Armando and get drunk,
If people are listening to this podcast and then the one with Armando, they're going to see a trend of there's been a lot of after hours drinking tequila.
But Armando always had the really good tequila from Mexico, like the real deal shit that's like drinking water.
Yeah.
It's just so smooth and so good, the pure shit. And, but yeah, we had many nights and I DJ karaoke there for 4 or 5 years.
You did it there for
a long time. And so we got to know Armando really, really well. And of course, your sister-in-law Becky was the bartender and belly dancer.
Bartender belly dancer.
She would. We'd play Shakira karaoke. She'd come out belly dance.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew that or not. But,
no, I didn't know that. But now everybody knows that.
Well, it wasn't a state secret. I mean, she did it in public. Yeah. But we had a lot of good times, and we supported Armando. Even when he went to Los Plazas in Dixon,
we went out there a lot too.
Occasionally, he didn't have karaoke there for a long time, like regularly. But like on Cinco de Mayo, we'd go DJ karaoke there and things like that. And he would call us, and we go down there and eat occasionally just to see him and support him. Excuse me, but
it's pretty amazing what he's done down there. Because I was telling him. When I met with him that I hadn't been there in a long time, and then I went back and he built a whole fucking bar.
Yeah,
he's got all kinds of beers on draft, and it's like he's really.
Canis looks amazing. I went in there the other day for lunch because I'm diabetic, so I like to go in there and do the bowl because I can control the carbs in there. I know, look at me, I'm a fat bastard. I can control my carbs, but I do because I'm going there to get a protein bowl and control the carbs and. It's just a little pricey is my only issue. Not that I love Armando still, support Armando. I've done lots of things at Kano's when it was Nando's too. I used to go out there and we used to do charity stuff with trivia and bring business in and stuff. But
it's funny to think that when he opened that it was like you probably do where you go in and you pick a Subway type thing where you pick your food and all that kind of stuff, and how it's morphed into
both kind of a menu and
it's very strange because you don't see that normally. It's like a sit down restaurant or what he had before, and he's been able to successfully morph it into both, and it's decorated up nice. It looks great.
It does.
He's done a great job in there.
But I like that option too because if you're just going in there for a lunch, you do the build your own and you go sit down and eat it. If you're going there for a longer lunch or longer dinner, you sit down and order from the menu, you're not in a hurry. So I kind of like the dichotomy of that. I think it's pretty cool. And the place is great. The bar that he's got is amazing. And, I worked there as a bartender at Detour the whole time it was open.
Detours.
And, the sports bar. I was a bartender. Well, me and Roger basically ran the place for a good 6 months out of the year it was open. But that's a whole different story. But to see where Armando came in and his vision of how he changed it is pretty awesome.
Well, so the people that don't know, maybe the newbies here in Fairview, back when they opened that area, it was open as Detours, and they had that whole section that Armando has even now. It only split off after Detours went out of business, and
there's a boutique.
Yeah, they split it off. They had the boutique, and then
was it Bourbon and Rye? I think it was the name of it. But
yeah, Bourbon and Rye, and then what was it, Oscars or something?
Yeah, Oscars Taco Shop. Yeah,
Oscars Taco Shop. And then that didn't work out for Oscars, and it didn't work out for the Bourbon and Rye, and Armando got the Oscars, and he pretty much did the same thing that Oscars was doing, just under Nando's.
Yeah,
and then
Bourbon and Oscars kind of went defunct, period, because they had a bunch of locations and
it wasn't just the Fairview one. It was I think it wasn't a matter of the food quality or anything like that.
Right. Yeah,
it just all went out. But Armando opened the Nando's there, and then the Bourbon and Rye. I don't know. I guess it went out of business. I really don't follow this stuff, but it didn't work out, and so then he
took over that space. Yeah.
But it's funny because Detours was it's really disappointing. Another thing for people that don't know where that I guess it's still a farm. No, it's fucking. It's still a pharmacy. No, it's Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Over there in front of Dos Margaritas. It used to be a place called Mojo's Coffee.
Yeah, which is a really good coffee shop.
And this was prior to, it was probably around the time that Starbucks started, people, there was coffee shops.
Yeah.
And man, that place was before its time. I mean, if we had Mojo's Coffee now, it would be fucking rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And now it's a stupid Dunkin' Donuts. But anyway, that place closes down.
Well, didn't you know America runs on Duncan?
Well, I guess so, but
that's their motto. Anyway.
But it's really sad to see like these places that like that Mojo's, because what was that? That was 25 years ago, or 22 years ago.
So the thing about Mojo's, it wasn't just a coffee shop. It was like a cool hangout spot.
Yeah, well, the band, the Chester Boone, we would play there. We played some acoustic sets, but like it was, if it was here now, it would be very, very successful. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just sad to see places like that are desirable here in New Fairview.
Right.
Old Fairview, we were kind of in the transitioning period of like, you know, it was just before its time. And so
it was one of those things with Old Fairview is that people go out of their way to go out of town to do shit instead of shopping locally and going to restaurants locally, local restaurants and things like that, and supporting locally. And now it seems people are more willing to stay. They want to stay local.
Yeah, I don't ever fucking leave Fairview. Yeah. The only time that we leave is, the reality is we've been eating in. I told Armando that too. But we got to do something. We can't. Yeah. We got to have a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like we talked about having the steakhouse, and I'm 100% serious about it. I know Armando is too. Like I'll put a menu together and we'll make a steakhouse, and I think that it'll do really well here in town. But we got to have something more than what we have, because I don't have to leave town for anything. As to where I remember early on, and when me and Nikki got married, like all right, Saturday morning, let's get in the car, load the kids up. We go to Walmart on Charlotte Pike and get our groceries for the week. Now it's just like, man, it's right here.
Right.
It's like you don't have to leave town for anything.
Or have Walmart deliver it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I never really even thought about this. But when I was talking to Bert, he made the comment, because I told him, I was like, you know, this whole gymnasium thing, I'm like, we don't got enough people around here that's going to do this. And he made the point that like, yeah, there probably is plenty of people here in town, but like people would come from Nashville to come here. You know, it's like, and I thought about it and I was like, you know what? That's probably true, because like we're just accustomed to like anywhere that we need to go. For Old Fairview, people are like, I'm gonna have to drive 30 minutes anywhere I need to go.
Yeah.
So we're used to it. So it's just a benefit now that like we don't have to drive much of anywhere to get groceries or to do anything like that. But like these people will come here to do that stuff, and then you'll be mad because they'll be sitting in the fucking McDonald's line when you're trying to get
Davidson County, son of a bitch.
Yeah, people from Franklin or Dixon are coming here to have their kids at the gymnasium, and you're bitching at them because you want to get your McDonald's Coke.
What I didn't realize is that place is so big that they can have competitions and shit there.
Yeah.
And that most gymnastics places around here aren't that big. And so I was thinking about it, and last year, was it last year or the year before? We had one of the Little League World Series at our ball fields.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. We did. I did.
And that brought so many people to town from all over the Southeast. And I don't know exactly what it was. I may have misspoke, but it was like one of the championships or whatever for Little League. And to have shit like that come to Fairview, or to even have like a gymnastics.
No, it's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a huge deal, because we're talking about small business and stuff where they're going to the Mexican restaurants and small business. They're going to Kano's and supporting him. You know, they're not just going to McDonald's or corporate places. They're going to all the places, and they're staying at, hopefully we get some better motels, but they're staying at motels and things.
No, we need, you know, we need a little bit nicer.
Instead of crack house motel.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But it is very interesting to see that dynamic of things, because it's very important that we understand that this is a desirable place to come.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's like I laugh about it, and it's been funny. And I've done, I don't know, 13, 14 episodes of this show. And it's really sad for somebody that's lived here all of my life, and I don't know anything about the city politics. I don't know anything about any of the shit that's going on. And so I've been kind of learning as the past month or so has happened. And I'm just like, I didn't realize all these things were going on. And all of these things
There's a lot going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
Because like for my kids, it's like, all three of them were never really big into sports, and so like I'm not in that scene. I didn't realize that that these competitions were coming here, and I read about it at some point, and then realized that it was kind of a big deal, or like this whole gymnasium thing. Because immediately in my mind, I'm just like, whatever, you know. Because every time somebody opens something, this is how my mind processes it. All right, some guy that's got a lot of money came in here and put this fucking building here and this gymnasium. It'll probably do good for a year, and then it'll be out of business, and then it'll become fucking self-storage, just like Dirt Nasty became. But I don't think that that's the case now. Yeah. Like, after talking to people and understanding, like, the dynamic that, like, people desire that stuff.
Right.
Just because, like, I don't know about it doesn't mean that.
Well, you have plenty of boy sports.
Yeah.
But very little girl sports, right? And little girls who aren't into soccer or volleyball or softball, you know, gymnastics is a huge thing. It's a huge thing, and apparently a huge money-making business.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money, from what I understand. So don't even get me started on the storage shit, because that's the one thing ain't nobody in this town want, period. And there's two of them. Not only dirt cheap, they're building a fucking 2-story one next to the big liquor store.
Yeah.
On the other side, from where they already have storage units.
Look, man, the people at Fairview need to store things.
Look, the whole storage thing to me is fucking ridiculous anyway. The shit that you pay $85 a month or $185 a month, whatever it is, to store your shit that you don't need, you'll never go look at.
Yeah, you just need to get rid of it.
Right. So why do we need all the storage places? We already have 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, anyway.
No.
But they can do what they want with their money, and I understand that. And the person that is opening it where Dirt Cheap was, they bought the entire building.
Well, the thing is people complain about nail salons, and we had Chinese restaurants, and we got 3-4 Mexican places. It's like, I get it.
Well, people are always yelling at bowling alley. You know how much a bowling alley costs to open? It's $120,000 to put a lane in.
Yeah.
Just one lane.
That's a lot.
So you put in 10 lanes before you've ever even opened and made a dime. You spent over $1 million.
Listen, I can get on Amazon right now and get some bowling pins. We can look. We can probably get you can go to the bowling alley in Franklin and get you a bowling ball for about $150. You get some shoes with it and a nice bag. Right. It's like we get Roger out there to build some.
Right. We'll just wax it up real good.
Yeah, we'll wax it up.
We'll have somebody back there resetting the pins for
you. Somebody be back there. It's like you hit a few of them and somebody runs out there and resets them up. But
a little piece of history of Fairview, what people don't realize, we used to have a bowling alley.
Oh, really? Where at?
The big liquor store used to be a bowling alley.
Oh, you know what? I think I knew that. Yeah,
it used to be a bowling alley back in the 70s.
That liquor store is awesome, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the gift shop in there and shit.
Yeah. That little gift shop that they've ended up turning it into something really nice.
Yeah.
So what was over there before they got that other part? It was like a
thrift store.
Yeah, thrift store or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway. All right, so we'll wrap this thing up.
Now that we've talked about fucking everything from paranormal to Fairview to politics.
Yeah, and what's funny is like we could sit here and go for another 2 hours, right. But we can have you on again for sure. We as in me. But I do want people to check out the book, Small Town Haunts and Legends of Tennessee. I think it's cool that you're doing one for Kentucky, so we'll be watching out for that. Don't take 4 years.
Right. No. Hopefully it's done by the end of this year is what I push for. The book is available on Amazon right now on Kindle Unlimited, paperback and hardback. But if people pay attention, I do little festivals here in Fairview. Like, I don't know when this episode's coming out, but this Saturday I'll be at the Archcraft Fair here in the Bowie. I'll have the book for sale. I'll sign it for you. I just got approved through Ingram Spark, which is in Nashville. They're a big book publisher. So they have a catalog that goes out to 40,000 retailers. So hopefully it will be in Barnes & Noble and places like that here very, very soon, to where you don't have to order on Amazon. Because I know a lot of people aren't big on Amazon.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for us to believe that because we order everything on Amazon. But
I do order everything on Amazon, but I thought it was nice when Roger brought this in and he showed it to me. I was like, man, this is it. It's a good book. It's a good hardcover book. It's.
And if somebody's in town, my profile on Facebook is public. You can go message me. And if you want me to,
don't try to get your ass on Fairview then and now.
No. But if you want a personalized copy, I'm working on a website. But if you want a personalized copy and you're here in town, just shoot me a message on Facebook and I'll meet you at McDonald's or something. And the hardbacks are $20. When I sell them, they're $15.
Yeah,
for soft copy.
So you got the book, got the house. If anybody's interested in checking that out,
we do history tours of the Night House too, not just It's and you can go to thenightHouseKY.com, and night is spelled KNIGHT.
Yeah, don't be putting. Don't forget the K. Not evening night.
Yeah,
K night.
Yeah.
But yeah, got the house, got the book. Definitely need to get back on the podcasting, at least to, even if you're doing it for, once a month or whatever, you got to get back in there.
Yeah.
We got to have the fellow podcasters here in Fairview.
Right.
Maybe we'll become like the Hollywood of podcasting here in Fairview. But,
the Holliswood of podcasting.
Yeah. But, we'll wrap it up. Reach out if you, need a book or need any of the things. And we'll definitely have you back because we talk about Fairview. We could talk all day about Fairview.
And we're going to drink more beer and probably talk a lot more.
We're going to drink some beer. Roger won't have to go and get it anymore. I won't have to hold the cup over and say, hey, fill it up. All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
See ya.